Ever get sucked down those internet rabbit holes? Clicking and clicking, but never finding the answer.
Happens to me all the time.
Right. But imagine being an AI where your whole world, IS information, what happens when they hit that wall?
Whoa, I haven't thought about it like that.
That's what we're diving into today. Synthetic data and what it means for, well, the future of pretty much everything.
And the really wild part is, this isn't sci-fi anymore. This is happening right now, and it's going to impact those AI tools we're all getting used to, like ChatGPT, big time.
Exactly. And our guide today is Willy Seyama. Now, he's not just some techie in a basement. He's the CEO of a marketing agency out there actually using this stuff.
Oh, so he's in the trenches, so to speak.
Totally. And he just wrote this super insightful article on LinkedIn just a few weeks ago, so this is hot off the presses. He's basically saying that OpenAI, the folks behind ChatGPT, they might be hitting a wall.
A wall? Like what? Writer's block for AI?
Kind of. Remember that analogy about the internet rabbit hole? Seyama says OpenAI has basically fed their language model almost all the real-world data there is. It's like they've read every book ever written.
Okay, so they taught the AI to read using every children's book ever.
Yeah.
Then what? What happens next?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And Seyama says the solution, the thing that's supposed to take AI to the next level, is synthetic data.
Synthetic data, like artificial data, not the real deal.
Exactly. Instead of pulling from the real world, it's data that's generated by, get this, AI itself.
So AI is creating its own study guides now. That's both impressive and kind of creepy.
Tell me about it. And it's not just theoretical. This synthetic data is rumored to be the backbone of OpenAI's next big project, this thing called the Orion model.
So to understand where AI is going, we got to understand synthetic data. Got it.
Right. New fuel for a new generation of AI. But here's the thing. Seyama calls synthetic data a double-edged sword.
Uh-oh. Double-edged sword, never a good sign. What's he worried about?
His biggest concern, content convergence. And I know that sounds like jargon, but...
No, I get it. It's like everything starts sounding the same, right? Like, what's the point of AI if it just spits out the same old stuff?
Exactly. He's worried that instead of being this engine of new ideas, AI might get trapped in this echo chamber of synthetic data, just remixing the same old stuff.
Like an AI cover band that only knows one song.
Yeah. So instead of true innovation, we get really good copies. And that's not exactly the groundbreaking progress we were promised.
Definitely not. And you know what's even more worrying? Think about how this could impact languages.
Languages?
Yeah, Seyama talks about how these AI models, if we're not careful, they might start favoring the most dominant languages out there, the ones they've been fed the most.
Because there's more data for those languages, so the AI just sticks with what it knows, right?
Exactly. And what happens to the smaller languages, the ones with unique stories to tell? They get drowned out. Imagine a world where the richness of different cultures gets flattened because AI is stuck in this loop of the same old, same old.
Okay, now that is a little unsettling. But Seyama, he doesn't just point out the problem. He actually goes a step further. He takes his concerns to another AI, Perplexity AI.
Wait, he asks an AI what it thinks about all this. That's pretty meta.
Right. It's like he's holding up a mirror to AI, using AI to analyze itself.
So what is Perplexity, like AI's therapist or something? Tell me about your data anxieties.
Pretty much. He asked Perplexity these really pointed questions like, is synthetic data going to kill creativity? Is it going to make those AI hallucinations even worse? And really importantly, is it going to make the bias problem even bigger?
Because AI already has a bias problem, right? Like showing favoritism based on the data it's been trained on.
Exactly. And what's crazy is that Perplexity, the AI, it doesn't sugarcoat it. It basically agrees with Seyama.
It's not just, one guy's opinion, right? This is literally coming from the AI's mouth.
It's like it's saying, slow down, guys. This is serious stuff.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that both Seyama and Perplexity agree on this. If the data, the original data, is already messed up, well, the synthetic data is just going to make it worse.
So it's like, even with AI, it's still garbage in, garbage out.
Pretty much.
So what's the solution? Is Seyama saying we need to, ditch AI altogether?
No, not at all. And this is important. He's not saying AI is bad. He's just saying we need to be careful.
So, we're so excited about what AI can do that we haven't stopped to think about, the rules of the road.
Exactly. Are we going 100 miles an hour, but we forgot to, build the steering wheel?
Okay, that's a scary thought.
It is. And that's what really got me thinking about his article, what happens to, real creativity, original thought. If AI is just stuck in this loop of old information.
Right, because if it's only learning from the past, how can it come up with something truly new?
Exactly. And that's, I think, the big question here. Are we headed towards this future where new just means like a remix?
Instead of a revolution, it's just a repeat.
Yeah. And if that happens, what does that even mean for like how we understand progress?
Are we evolving or just like hitting the replay button over and over?
It's a lot to wrap your head around, and it all comes back to this one thing, synthetic data, this stuff that's, born in a computer. It could change everything.
Like we're looking in this digital mirror, right?
Yeah.
And the line between what's real and what's a reflection, it's getting blurry.
And with that blurring comes a whole bunch of new questions, like if an AI creates something new, who owns it?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. Like, is it the AI that's the owner? The people who programmed it? Does ownership even make sense anymore?
It's like, are we going to have lawsuits where it's like, AI stole my idea?
I mean, it sounds crazy, but think about it. 10 years ago, did we ever think we'd be talking about any of this?
It's true.
And that's why we have to talk about it now,
Well,
We can't just pretend this isn't happening. We have to figure out, like, what are the rules? What are the guidelines before it's too late?
it's like we built this massive, shiny new skyscraper, but forgot to check if the ground could even hold it.
And now we're trying to figure out the blueprints while we're already 10 stories high.
A bit of an oversight.
Mm.
But Seyama's not saying we need to, dynamite the whole thing.
Right. Like any powerful tool, it's all about how we use it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What's the best case scenario here? What could synthetic data actually help us achieve?
Well, imagine medicine for a second. Right now, there are all sorts of privacy concerns about using real patient data. But with synthetic data, we could have these massive data sets of, say, medical scans without any of those ethical issues.
So AI could learn way more, way faster, and
Yeah.
potentially come up with breakthroughs we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. Faster drug discovery, personalized medicine, you name it. And it's not just healthcare. Think about things like engineering, architecture. We could use synthetic data to simulate how structures would behave in earthquakes.
So instead of waiting for an earthquake to happen, we can run like 1,000 simulations in a day.
Exactly. Test the limits of a design without putting anyone at risk. Or think about climate change. We could use synthetic data to model different scenarios, explore potential solutions, all without having to wait decades to see the real-world effects.
Okay, so potentially huge positive impacts in all kinds of fields. But how do we actually make sure this synthetic data is used for good? Where do we even begin to steer this thing in the right direction?
Honestly, I think it starts with awareness.
Like just knowing that synthetic data exists.
Exactly. Because once you understand what it is, how it's made, you start to see the potential problems and the potential solutions. And we need to become more discerning consumers of information, more aware of how the sausage is made, so to speak.
So it's not just about spotting fake news anymore. It's about understanding how that fake news is being generated in the first place.
Exactly. And we need to be asking tough questions. Don't just take information at face value, especially when it comes to AI. Look for signs of bias. Question if something feels off.
Do a little digging. Figure out who's behind the information, where it's coming from. Is it human-made? Or did it come from some AI algorithm?
Right. And don't be afraid to put pressure on these tech companies. Demand transparency. We need to know what data sets they're using to train these AIs, what biases they might be baking into these systems.
Because it's cool that AI can do all this stuff, but that doesn't mean it gets a free pass.
Absolutely not. We still need human judgment, human ethics guiding these technologies.
So it's almost like we need a crash course in digital literacy, not just for ourselves, but for, like, everyone. Our kids, our families.
It's the most important skill of the 21st century, being able to navigate this world of information, fact, fiction, AI-generated, human-generated, and being able to sort through it all with a critical eye.
Because at the end of the day, AI, synthetic data, it's all just tools, right? And any tool can be used for good or bad.
It's up to us to decide how we want to use them.
That's a great point to end on. So as you go out there and encounter this brave new world of synthetic data, and you will encounter it, remember what we talked about today. Ask those tough questions. Be discerning. And never underestimate the power of genuine human ingenuity. That's it for this deep dive.